Sup, y'all? It's the one and only Twilight Mysteries. Here again, we're back at it again to share some very interesting and perplexing statistics about our wildlife species and animals, and also our natural world. Some of our most beloved animal species are going extinct. And a lot of this information and news is kept from the mainstream media. So a lot of these informations and statistics and news topics, you guys won't find anywhere else unless you guys really do some due diligence and research. So most of it is caused by unsustainable development as well as deforestation. And a lot of our most beloved animal species, such as lions, actually reside in some of the poorest parts of our world. So go ahead and jump into some shocking statistics about the state of African lions. A lot of people don't know that their habitats are being completely devastated. Lions have suffered catastrophic historical range losses, and this is something that's being kept out of the mainstream media. So let's kind of wait a second before we share this shocking information. So a lot of people, like I said previously, don't know that a lot of our beloved animal species are disappearing due to unsustainable development, lack of not building against nature, but we have to start building with nature, such as providing wildlife corridors and other efforts to hopefully mesh human development with the natural world. So, over 95% of the lions' historical range have disappeared. So, lions were basically found all over the continent, from Africa, Asia, and even America. Now, as of today, lions only inhabit about less than 8% of their historical range. So that's a pretty shocking statistic to know that lions once roamed 95% of the earth, but now they're reduced to only about 8%. Then also, a lot of people don't know too that lions could possibly go extinct by 2050. This is a shocking statistic, but it's not surprising due to the major population increases and so forth. And then also, one of the most major threats against lions is trophy hunting. So what happens is that we have a lot of foreign people coming to countries such as Africa, and they're hunting these, you know, unique and threatened animal species, mostly predatorial, such as lions and tigers. And what they do is that they kill the lions and ship the trophies, the bodies, back to their home countries. And this definitely has severe consequences, not only on the natural environment, but also the populations and communities. Because what happens is that, when you have a reduction in wildlife, especially some of the most beloved species, such as lions, it also reduces tourism and revenue. And that's something that a lot of underdeveloped countries, such as Africa, depend on. They really depend on revenue from these beloved animal species, such as elephants and lions. But a lot of that is being threatened due to trophy hunting and unsustainable development. So that's a pretty shocking statistic about lions that a lot of people don't know that 95% of their historical range has disappeared, mostly due to unsustainable development as well as trophy hunting. And then now let's get into some shocking statistics regarding brown bears and bears. Bears are a lot more intelligent than what people give them credit for. Tests and studies and trial runs have proven that bears are just as smart or even smarter than primates. And brown bears actually have one of the largest brain to body ratios out of all the animals. And they've been seen being able to use tools, recognize different situations, strategize, even recognize different humans. So, and then also, what's always mystified me about bears is that, you know, are they conscious during the hibernation process? Is there some type of awareness, or are they just completely unconscious and asleep? Because bears can hibernate, for several months to half a year, but the science of hibernation and animal consciousness is not really explored, and that's a very deep mystery that still ponders a lot of researchers and scientists. Are bears conscious when they hibernate? And then also, all over the news, there's a lot more human and bear encounters. You know, it's becoming unbearable. So you're seeing a lot more of these bears encroaching into yards, public areas, due to the fact that we're encroaching into their habitat. And then also, the next animal that we're going to discuss today is orcas. Orcas can be found in every ocean on the planet. And what's even more shocking and perplexing is that an orca's brain is 5 times the size of a human's brain. Okay? So kind of just put that into perspective. And they've been known to enjoy music, such as the violin, the flutes, and so forth. And they actually have a sense of humor too, as well. And what's even more shocking and perplexing is the behavior that they're exhibiting with boats, attacking boats for no apparent reason. But a lot of people speculate that it could be revenge. And these animals are a lot smarter than what people give them credit for. So there's a lot of speculation that these orcas may be attacking these vessels due to the fact that they can actually put together the fact that when there's boats in the area, there's also a reduction in the fish population. So this is a connection that a lot of scientists and researchers say that one of the main reasons for these orcas attacking these boats could be due to the fact that they realize that when these boats are around, especially these fishing boats, when they're within their territories, there's a loss of prey. So, very interesting statistic regarding orcas. And then also, a lot of people are unaware of the fact that a lot of whales are dying and stranding themselves on beaches all across the world, and a lot of people are perplexed. Recently, they've had a dead whale show up in Malibu, a dead gray whale calf. This is becoming a regular occurrence, seeing these massive marine animals, whales, beaching themselves. And this whole situation has perplexed a lot of scientists and researchers. But there is one theory that makes a whole lot of sense as far as why these whales are dying off, and they're dying off in massive numbers. Basically, it's called an unusual mortality event that we're having with not only gray whales, but whales all across, the animal species and kingdoms, such as beluga whales and so forth. But one of the main theories for why so many whales are perishing and beaching themselves is due to the fact that they are starving. Okay? So basically, whales make a long trek from their feeding grounds in the Antarctic to their breeding grounds in Baja, Mexico. And basically, what's happening is that due to climate change and the increase in ocean temperatures and global warming and so forth, what's going on is that a lot of the ice is melting. And what's going on is that underneath and attached to these ice, these gigantic icebergs and so forth, are these algae, okay? So there's a lot of algae attached to these major glaciers and to a lot of the ice in the Antarctic, okay? And what feeds on the algae are these little crustaceans and plankton, basically the prey that the whales feed on. So basically what's going on is due to climate change, plankton are disappearing due to the fact that they are not able to feed on the algae that's attached to these major glaciers and to the ice that's in Antarctic. So that's basically one of the main reasons why our whale populations have been decimated so greatly is due to the fact that they're starving because their prey is disappearing, because their prey, the plankton and the small crustaceans, feed on the algae that's attached most of it is attached beneath these giant glaciers. And as they melt, the algae disappears as well as the prey for these massive whales. So definitely a very interesting situation. And with my perspective with the ocean, I believe the ocean is more mysterious and actually more important than space itself. We've only explored about less than around 95% of the oceans. So that means we've only explored 5% of what's actually out there. And what this also entails is that we've only discovered and found only about 5% of the ocean species that are out there. So imagine that. Imagine all of the animals, animal kingdoms, and so forth that have yet to be discovered in our oceans. And I believe our oceans are the true final frontier, not deep space, because the oceans play a critical role in the dynamics and systems, water systems, and so forth, atmospheric systems of our planet. I believe that's a lot more important than trying to go to space mostly for greed and profit, mining, private space tourism. I think exploring our oceans and really understanding what's going on there is a lot more important than trying to get to the moon, in my opinion. And not only is our oceans being decimated, but also our freshwater species are disappearing at an alarming rate. Over 84% of our aquatic freshwater species have completely disappeared from the face of the planet. And you should do your own due diligence and realize that 10, 20 years ago, maybe when you were a kid or adolescent, you would see a lot more frogs, tadpoles, crayfish, and even insects. But now it's very difficult to find an insect, to find a tadpole in a river, to find a aquatic freshwater species in our rivers and streams. This is the same situation going on with the frog population. The frog population has been decimated as well. And this is an important centerpiece to the whole ecosystem. not only is our frog species, not only are the frogs disappearing, but our insects are disappearing as well. Okay? It's like having a gigantic pyramid and pulling the building blocks away. It only takes one or two little blocks. If you take it away from the big pyramid, everything can collapse. And a lot of people are saying this is exactly what's going on with these frogs that are disappearing, as well as the insects, because a lot of people don't know that insects pollinate our fruits and vegetables. And without insects, without the pollinators, such as butterflies and bees, it may be impossible for fruits and vegetables in the near term future to be able to produce due to the disappearance of our pollinating insects such as bees and butterflies. So definitely a very interesting situation, but one of the most important aspects going on environmentally would be deforestation. You know, cows and beef account for 41% of all deforestation on the planet. Okay? And a lot of people don't know that many of our American products, over 90% of them derive from deforestation from some part of the world. So this is a pretty amazing statistics because trees are very important. You know, they provide oxygen and they also, they're able to capture CO2. And what's going on too is that a lot of our old growth forests are being destroyed. Ancient forests are being destroyed, and these are some of the most important aspects of the whole ecosystem because they store a lot of I don't know the exact importance of them, but I know they take up a lot of CO2. So what's going on here is we definitely have a cataclysm because a lot of our important building blocks to our natural world, it's like a big pyramid. If you pull out one piece, the whole thing can collapse. Okay? So there's a very dangerous situation that's looming that a lot of people are unaware of. So our building blocks of nature for the natural world and wildlife are pollinating insects such as bees and butterflies, and those are disappearing. Okay? And our trees are disappearing. Okay? So that's definitely a question, food for thought, because fruits and vegetables will not be able to pollinate and grow without the pollination of these bees and butterflies. And that's exactly what's disappearing. Okay. So a lot of people are unaware of these dangerous and looming situations and threats to our natural world. But like I said before, a lot of our main pieces, they're small little pieces, are falling apart. Okay. So it's very sad to see so many whales beaching themselves. Like I said before, recently it's every week. It seems like every week I turn on the news and there's a whale beaching themselves in some part of the world. Recently, they just had a big event with a dead gray whale calf beaching itself in Malibu. Maybe that would get a lot more attention. Tell all the whales to beach themselves in Malibu. Okay? Maybe that would get a lot more attention and publicity. Okay? And it seems like, a lot of people, a lot of the scientists and researchers are really afraid to come out and say, this is the reason for what's going on. But like I discussed earlier, all it takes is one little small piece to cause a complete catastrophe. Okay? Like the algae disappearing from the Antarctic glaciers and ice. When the algae disappears, that means that The crustaceans and small plankton that feed on the algae also disappear as well. So you go from the disappearing algae to the disappearing plankton and small crustaceans. And what that leads to is the massive, unusual mortality event of not only gray whales, but beluga whales, because essentially they're starving to death. Okay? And a lot of people thought it could have been a toxic algae bloom. That's another dangerous situation due to global warming. Not only is our algae disappearing, and that's very important for the small microorganisms in the oceans. Not only is our algae disappearing in the Antarctic, but we're getting these massive toxic, extremely toxic. It was all over the news about a month ago. Sea lions all over California, sick, disappearing, sick, and just they really seem out of it. It's really quite saddening to see these special aquatic marine mammals be in such stress. You know, they look confused, they look scared. And it's very disheartening because a lot of the researchers and scientists don't know exactly what to do. But as I said before, nature is a chain of events and connections. Okay? All it takes is one little small thing to go wrong. Or let's say if lions go extinct, because they're expected to go extinct by 2050, and lions have lost over 95% of their historic range. So lions only inhibit about less than 8% of what they used to roam. So before, you were able to find lions in all sectors and aspects of our world, from America to Europe to Asia. And now lions can only be found in Africa and I believe certain parts of, because they have the Asiatic lion. Yeah. But what's going on here is we have to have a revolution in the way we utilize and use our land. We have to stop building against nature and start building with nature and start providing not more unsustainable development, but more sustainable development. Because you can expect a lot more animal species residing and living in our cities as we encroach on their habitat. Okay? Because it seems like humanity is at war with nature. You talk about World War III, there's a World War III going on against nature. Okay? And this kind of correlates with the whole concept of collateral damage. Okay? Collateral damage not only happens in wars, especially what's going on in the Middle East, the whole concept of collateral damage can also be applied to nature and how we're treating the environment with the pollution and over exploitation of resources and so forth. So that's a very interesting perspective to connect the concept of collateral damage not only with wars but also with nature, because essentially what's going on is that there's a World War III against nature. And the battle is getting more intense and intense every day with collateral damage, innocent lives being lost due to the greed and nature of humans, you know? And we're so separated from nature, you know, and so forth. So definitely some very interesting perspectives there, you know, that's for sure. With the whole concept of, I think we definitely need a lot more wildlife corridors. In areas of the city, we basically need to integrate animal habitats into our cities because that's basically going to be the future. Okay? Animals will disappear off the face of the planet unless we integrate them into our developments. So Just some shocking statistics and news about wildlife in the natural world. The shocking statistic that lions could go extinct by 2050, mostly caused by trophy hunting and unsustainable development. And a lot of this trophy hunting is a scam because they say the revenue goes towards the communities, but communities actually see very little of the revenue from trophy hunting. And then on top of that, they're taking away these foreign trophy hunters are taking away one of the greatest sources, because a lot of our beloved animal species reside in some of the poorest countries on earth. So not only are these trophy hunters coming in and destroying the natural, balance of these ecosystems, but they're also destroying the revenue, the tourism revenue for these underdeveloped countries such as Africa, India, and so forth. Because if you don't have lions, if lions go extinct, if elephants go extinct, that's definitely going to cause some negative impacts on the tourism industry. So, just some shocking revelations in regards to the natural world. The war against nature is becoming more and more intense as there's more and more collateral damage from deforestation, pollution. And then what's always just amazed me and perplexed me is a lot of people don't know, but if this was publicized a lot more, I think people would be a little bit more concerned with the environment. You kind of need like a shock therapy treatment to really get people going. And one of these to me was even for myself was the Pacific Garbage Patch. Okay. I don't know the exact statistics, but I believe it's about twice the size of Texas. It could be larger. But it's really unbelievable to see this massive patch of garbage. Could be more than twice the size of Texas in the middle of the ocean. And this is a clear example of a linear economy. Okay. What we need is not, we need to have a circular economy, not a linear economy. Everything is linear in today's society. And the Pacific Garbage Patch is a clear representation and symbolization of a lack of a linear economy. And what we need is more of a circular economy. It's called a circular economy. And basically, what a circular economy entails is that it follows a product from the beginning, from the creation, from the development of the product, all the way to the life end process. Okay, a lot of these companies are just creating products without really taking control of the life end process. And that's one of the clear distinctions between a linear and sustainable economy. And plastic pollution is at its greatest that it's ever been. There has to be a new way and system of packaging our foods. Okay? And a lot of these answers can actually be found in the ocean, especially with seaweed. That's another very popular, sustainable material and product. Not only can it feed people, but it can also, it can also be used as a holder for products, as a packaging type of system as well. We definitely need a new type of packaging system because this old system of plastic is definitely not right. And then, of course, there's also a concern of microplastics in our food. Okay, they say that Americans consume imagine a credit card, about a credit card worth of plastic every week. Okay? This is due to all of the microplastics in our packaging, in our bottles, and so forth. So people consume about the weight of a credit card in microplastics about every week. Okay? And scientists and researchers are just beginning to understand the impacts of microplastics in the human body. But I can guarantee you, within the next decade or so, there's going to be some alarming studies about the devastating impacts of microplastics in the human body. Okay? This is basically going to cause a need to really change the whole system, because the whole system of plastic is what you call a linear system, because they develop the product, they package the product in plastic, and then it ends up in the ocean or on the floor. But there's actually been some new developments about there being new types of enzymes and so forth that are able to actually break down and devour these materials, such as plastic and so forth. So, just a quick update in regards to some very interesting topics, news, statistics, and information about our wildlife and our natural world. I can guarantee you it's going to be very difficult to find the topics discussed on this live stream, because a lot of this information is kept from the mainstream media, because it would shock a lot of people. It would cause people to take action. And that's what we do here. We think outside of the box, we question everything. Because a lot of people just believe whatever the mainstream media tells them. There's a lack of critical thinking going on in today's society. And this live stream will definitely challenge that scenario. But thank you so much for tuning in to the one and only Twilight Mysteries, and have a good night. Thank you so much.